Day 291, Maccabean Revolt, 1 Maccabees 10, Sirach 26-27, Proverbs 23 verses 5-8. Let's begin. 1 Maccabees 10. And in the 160th year, Alexander, the son of Antiochus, who was surnamed the Illustrious, came up and occupied Ptolemy, and they received him, and he reigned there. And King Demetrius heard of it, and he gathered together an exceedingly great army, and he went forth to meet him in battle. And Demetrius sent a letter to Jonathan, with peaceful words, to magnify him. For he said, Let us first make a peace with him, before he makes one with Alexander against us. For he will remember all the evils that we have done to him, and to his brother, and to his nation. And he gave him the authority to gather together an army, and to fabricate weapons, so that he would be his associate. And the hostages who were in the stronghold, he ordered to be handed over to him. And Jonathan came to Jerusalem, and he read the letters in the hearing of all the people and of those who were in the stronghold. And they were struck with a great fear, because they heard that the king gave him the authority to gather together an army. And the hostages were handed over to Jonathan, and he restored them to their parents. And Jonathan lived in Jerusalem, and he began to rebuild and repair the city. And he told those doing the work to build up the walls, and Mount Zion, all around, with square stones, as a fortification. And they did so. Then the foreigners, who were in the fortifications that Bacchides had built, fled away. And each one abandoned his place and departed into his own land. Only in Bethzur did there remain some others of these, who had forsaken the law and the precepts of God. For this was a refuge for them. And King Alexander heard of the promises that Demetrius promised to Jonathan. And they described the battles to him, and the virtuous deeds that he and his brothers had done, and the hardships that they had endured. And he said, Would we ever find another such man? And so now, let us make him our friend and our associate. And so, he wrote a letter, and he sent it to him, according to these words, saying, King Alexander to his brother, Jonathan, greetings. We have heard of you, that you are a man of power and strength, and that you are fit to be our friend. And so now, on this day, we appoint that you be high priest of your people, and that you be called the king's friend. And he sent him a purple robe, and a crown of gold, and that you be of one mind with us in our affairs, and that you keep friendship with us. Then Jonathan clothed himself with the holy vestment, in the 7th month, in the 160th year, on the solemn day of the Feast of Tabernacles. And he gathered together an army, and he made an abundance of weapons. And Demetrius heard these words, and he was exceedingly sorrowful, and he said, What have we done in this, that Alexander has gone before us to obtain the friendship of the Jews to strengthen himself? I also will write to them words of petition, and offer positions of rank and gifts, so that they may act in assistance to me. And he wrote to them in these words, King Demetrius to the nation of the Jews, greetings. Since you have kept the peace with us, and have remained in our friendship, and have not made agreements with our enemies, we have heard of this, and we are glad. And so now, persevere still to remain faithful to us, and we will reward you with good things for what you have done for us. And we will repay you for your many expenses, and we will give you gifts. And now I release you, and all the Jews, from tributes, and I grant to you the payments of salt, and I send back the crowns and the thirds of the seed. And the 1/2 portion of the fruit from the trees, which is my share, I relinquish to you from this day and hereafter, so that it shall not be taken from the land of Judah, nor from the 3 cities that have been added to it from Samaria and Galilee, from this day and for all time. And let Jerusalem be holy and free within its borders, and let the tenths and tributes be for itself. And I even return authority over the stronghold, which is in Jerusalem, and I give it to the high priest, in order to appoint in it any such men as he will choose, who will guard it. And every soul of the Jews who were taken captive from the land of Judah in all my kingdom, I set at liberty without charge, so that they are all released from tributes, even of their cattle. And all the days of solemnities, and the Sabbaths, and the new moons, and the decreed days, and the 3 days before the solemn day, and 3 days after the solemn day, shall all be days of immunity and remission for all the Jews who are in my kingdom. And no one will have the authority to do anything, or to incite any plots, against any of them, in all cases. And let there be enrolled from the Jews, into the army of the king, up to 30,000 men. And allowances shall be given to them, just as is due to all the king's army. And some of them shall be appointed to be in the fortresses of the great king. And some of them shall be set over the affairs of the kingdom, those who act with faith, and let the leaders be from them, and let them walk by their own laws, just as the king has commanded in the land of Judah. And the 3 cities that have been added to Judea from the region of Samaria, let them be counted with Judea, so that they may be united as one, and so that they may obey no other authority, except the high priest. Ptolemy and its confines I give as a free gift to the holy places that are in Jerusalem, for the necessary expenses of the holy things. And I give, every year, 15,000 shekels of silver from the allotment of the king, from what belongs to me. And all that has been left over, which those who were set over the affairs in prior years have not paid, from this time, they will give it to the works of the house. And beyond this, they shall receive 5,000 shekels of silver from the allotment of the holy places each year, and this will belong to the priests who perform the ministry. And whoever will flee into the temple that is in Jerusalem, or in any of its parts, being liable before the king in any matter, let them be released, and all that is theirs in my kingdom, let them have it freely. And as to the works of rebuilding and repairing the holy places, the expenses shall be given from the king's revenues. And as to the raising of the walls of Jerusalem and the fortifications all around it, the expenses shall be given from the king's revenues, as also for the building of the walls in Judea. So when Jonathan and the people heard these words, they did not believe or accept them, because they remembered the great malice that he had done in Israel, for he had troubled them greatly. And so they were pleased with Alexander, because he had been to them a leader with words of peace, and they were of assistance to him every day. And so King Alexander gathered together a great army, and he moved his camp against Demetrius. And the 2 kings joined together in battle, and the army of Demetrius fled away, and Alexander followed after him, and he closed in on them. And the battle was hard fought until the sun went down, and Demetrius was slain on that day. And Alexander sent ambassadors to Ptolemy, the king of Egypt, according to these words, saying, Know that I have returned to my kingdom, and I am seated upon the throne of my fathers, and I have obtained the leadership, and I have crushed Demetrius, and I have taken possession of our country. And I have joined battle with him, and both he and his camp have been crushed by us, and we are seated on the throne of his kingdom. And now, let us establish a friendship with one with another. And give me your daughter as a wife, and I will be your son-in-law, and I will give gifts that are worthy of you, to both you and her. And King Ptolemy responded by saying, Happy is the day on which you were returned to the land of your fathers, and you sat on the throne of their kingdom. And now, I will do for you as you have written. But meet with me at Ptolemy, so that we may see one another, and so that I may espouse her to you, just as you have said. And so Ptolemy departed from Egypt, both he and his daughter Cleopatra, and he arrived at Ptolemy in the 162nd year. And King Alexander met him, and he gave him Cleopatra, his daughter. And he celebrated her marriage at Ptolemy with great glory, just as befits kings. And King Alexander wrote to Jonathan, that he should come to meet him. And he went forth with glory to Ptolemy, and he met the 2 kings there, and he gave them much silver, and gold, and gifts. And he found favor in their sight. And some of the pestilent men of Israel, men of iniquity, came together against him, interrupting with objections against him. And the king did not attend to them. And he ordered that Jonathan's garments be taken away from him, and that he be clothed in purple. And they did so. And the king arranged for him to sit with him. And he said to his princes, Go out with him into the midst of the city, and make a proclamation, so that no one may raise objections against him in any matter, and so that no one may bother him for any reason. And so it happened that, when his accusers saw his glory being proclaimed, and him clothed in purple, they all fled away. And the king magnified him, and he enrolled him among his foremost friends, and he gave him a position as governor, and as a participant in his dominion. And Jonathan returned to Jerusalem with peace and joy. In the 165th year, Demetrius, the son of Demetrius, came from Crete into the land of his fathers. And King Alexander heard of it, and he was very sorrowful, and he returned to Antioch. And King Demetrius appointed Apollonius as his general, who was in charge of Coele-Syria. And he gathered together a great army, and he drew near to Jamnia. And he sent to Jonathan, the high priest, saying, You alone resist us, and so I have been brought to derision and disgrace, because you exercise your power against us in the mountains. Now therefore, if you trust in your forces, descend to us in the plains, and there let us contest one another. For the power of war is with me. Inquire, and learn who I am, and the others, who are auxiliaries to me, who also say that your feet cannot stand before our face, for your fathers have twice been put to flight in their own land. And now, how will you be able to withstand the horsemen, and so great an army in the plains, where there is no stone, or rock, or place to flee? But when Jonathan heard the words of Apollonius, he was moved in his soul. And he chose 10,000 men, and he departed from Jerusalem, and Simon, his brother, met him to help him. And they positioned their tents near Joppa, but they excluded him from the city, because a garrison from Apollonius was in Joppa. And so, he attacked it. And those who were in the city, being terrified, opened to him. And so Jonathan obtained Joppa. And Apollonius heard of it, and he moved 3,000 horsemen, and a great army. And he went toward Azotus, like one making a journey, but he suddenly departed into the plains, because he had a great number of horsemen, and he trusted in them. And Jonathan followed after him to Azotus, and they joined together in battle. And Apollonius secretly left behind them in the camp 1,000 horsemen. And Jonathan realized that there was an ambush behind him, and they surrounded his camp, and they cast darts at the people from morning until evening. But the people stood firm, just as Jonathan had instructed them, and their horses suffered hardships. Then Simon drew forth his army, and he sent them against the legion. For the horsemen were wearied, and they were crushed by him, and they fled. And those who were scattered throughout the plains fled to Azotus, and they entered into Bethdagon, so that by their idol in that place they might save themselves. But Jonathan set fire to Azotus and to the cities that were all around it, and he captured their spoils and the temple of Dagon. And he burned with fire all those who had fled into it. And so it was that those who fell by the sword, with those who were burned, were nearly 8,000 men. And Jonathan removed his encampment from there, and he took up a position against Askelon. And they went out of the city to meet him with great glory. And Jonathan returned to Jerusalem with his own, having many spoils. And it happened that, when King Alexander heard these words, he added still more glory to Jonathan. And he sent him a clasp of gold, as is customary to be given to those who are of royal lineage. And he gave him Ekron, and all its borders, as a possession. Sirach 26:27. Blessed is the husband of a good wife, for the number of his years is doubled. A good wife delights her husband, and she will fill up the years of his life with peace. A good wife is a good portion. She will be given the portion of those who fear God, like a man who has done good deeds. But rich or poor, with a good heart, his countenance will be cheerful at all times. Of 3 things, my heart has been afraid, and at a 4th, my face has shown dread. An accusation made by a city, and the gathering of a mob. And a deceitful false accusation. All these are more grievous than death. A jealous wife is a grief and a mourning to the heart. In a jealous wife, there is a scourge of the tongue, which communicates with everyone. Like a yoke of oxen being provoked, so also is a wicked wife. He who has hold of her is like one who has taken hold of a scorpion. An inebriated wife is a great wrath, and her disgrace and indecency will not be covered. The fornication of a wife will become known by the haughtiness of her eyes and by her eyelids. So that her daughter will not also turn away, keep a strict watch, otherwise, having found an opportunity, she may enjoy herself. Be wary of the irreverence of her eyes, and you should not wonder if she might disregard you. Like a thirsty traveler, she will open her mouth to the fountain, and she will drink from every water nearby, and she will sit down beside every fence post, and she will open her quiver to every arrow, until she becomes weary. The grace of an attentive wife will delight her husband, and will fatten his bones. Her discipline is a gift from God. Such is an understanding and quiet wife. For there is no substitution for a well-instructed soul. A holy and contrite wife is grace upon grace. And no amount of money is equal to the value of a soul with self-restraint. Like the sun rising over the world in the high places of God, so the beauty of a good wife is the adornment of her house. Like a lamp shining atop a holy lampstand, so is the beauty of a face in the mature stage of life. Like golden pillars upon bases of silver, so are the firm feet of a mature wife upon the soles of her feet. Like everlasting foundations upon a solid rock, so are the commandments of God in the heart of a holy wife. By two things, my heart is greatly saddened, and at a third, anger overwhelms me. A man of war failing because of dire need, and an understanding man treated with contempt. And anyone who crosses over from justice to sin, God has prepared such a one for the spear. Two kinds of things have seemed difficult and dangerous to me. A merchant will not be easily freed from his negligence, and a shopkeeper will not be justified by the sins of his lips. Because of need, many have sinned. And whoever seeks to be enriched, averts his eye. Like a post fixed in the middle of adjoining stones, so also will sin become wedged between selling and buying. Sin will be crushed with the one who sins. If you do not hold yourself steadfastly to the fear of the Lord, your house will be quickly overthrown. Just as the dust remains when one shakes a sieve, so will the doubt of a man remain in his thoughts. The furnace tests the potter's vessels, and the trial of the tribulation tests just men. As the pruning of a tree reveals its fruit, so does a word reveal the thoughts in the heart of a man. You should not praise a man before he speaks, for such is the testing of men. If you pursue justice, you will obtain it, and you will be clothed with justice, as with a long robe of honor. And you will live with justice. And justice will protect you continually. And on the day of reckoning, you will find a strong foundation. Birds flock to their own kind. And truth will return to those who practice it. The lion lies in wait for its prey continually. So also do sins lie in wait for those who work iniquity. A holy man persists in wisdom like the sun, but a senseless man changes like the moon. In the midst of the senseless, retain a word for the proper time, but be continually in the midst those who are thoughtful. The discussions of sinners are hateful, and their laughter is a delight in sin. The speech that swears many oaths will cause the hair of the head to stand upright, and its irreverence will cause the ears to be blocked. The shedding of blood is in the quarrels of the arrogant, and their evil talk is grievous to hear. Whoever discloses the secret of a friend breaks faith, and he will not find a friend for his soul. Love your neighbor, and be united with him faithfully. But if you disclose his secrets, you should not continue to follow after him. For like a man who destroys his friend, so also is he who destroys the friendship of his neighbor. And like someone releasing a bird from his hand, so have you abandoned your neighbor, and you will not obtain him again. You should no longer seek him, for he is now far away. He has fled like a roe deer from a snare. For his soul has been wounded. You will no longer be able to bind his wound. For there may be a reconciliation from cursing. But to disclose the secrets of a friend is the hopeless act of an unhappy soul. One who winks with the eye fabricates iniquity, and no one will cast him aside. In the sight of your eyes, he will sweeten his mouth, and he will admire your talk. But at the very end, he will pervert his mouth, and he will offer a scandal from your own words. I have hated many things, but I have not done as he has done, and the Lord will hate him. Whoever throws a stone straight up will find that it falls on his own head. And a deceitful wound will return to wound the deceitful. And whoever digs a pit will fall into it. And whoever positions a stone against his neighbor will stumble over it. And whoever lays a trap for another will perish by it. Whoever sets in motion a wicked plan will find that it rolls back over him, and he will not know from which direction it will arrive. Mockery and derision are of the arrogant, and vengeance will lie in wait for them, like a lion. Whoever enjoys the fall of the just will perish in a snare, and grief will consume them before they die. Anger and fury are both abominable, and the sinful man will be held by them. Proverbs 23 verses 5 through 8. Do not raise your eyes toward wealth that you are not able to have. For they will make themselves wings, like those of an eagle, and they will fly in the sky. Do not eat with an envious man, and do not desire his foods. For, like a seer and an interpreter of dreams, he presumes what he does not know. Eat and drink, he will say to you, and his mind is not with you. The foods that you had eaten, you will vomit up. And you will lose the beauty in your words.